gesture. They are encrypted messages, subtle codes, and keys to doors he rarely lets anyone near. In a world where praise has become a disposable commodity, where social media likes and generic flattery are handed out like candy, the Sigma male refuses to dilute the meaning of his words. His compliments are not designed to charm you into liking him. They are expressions of authentic observation. When he notices something, it's not the obvious surface-level traits that everyone else sees. It's the rare, almost hidden qualities that others overlook. That's because to him words are currency, and he spends them like a collector handling rare gold coins, sparingly, with full awareness of their worth. When a Sigma finally is not deliberate, targeted, and precise, it might even take you a moment to realize you've just been complimented at all. Many people won't recognize it as praise because it isn't wrapped in obvious charm or loud declarations. Instead, his approval is embedded in subtleties. A comment about how you handled a tense situation, how your laugh is genuine rather than performative, or how your perspective is crowd. These moments feel different because they are different. There's no public stage, no showmanship, no fishing for reciprocation, just an intimate acknowledgement, as if he's letting you in on a secret no one else gets to hear. Understanding Sigma compliments requires stepping into his worldview, a place where value isn't defined by trends. Attention is given only where it's truly deserved, and silence often says more than 100 flowery sentences. When he speaks, it is because something about you has genuinely shifted his attention, which is a rare and meaningful occurrence. That's why these compliments, though unconventional, carry far more weight than the predictable "you're pretty" or "you're amazing." They are signals quietly telling you that in the vast noise of the world, you've managed to stand out in his eyes. Number one, you notice things most people miss. To him, this isn't small talk. It's a recognition of awareness. Sigma values perception because it reflects intelligence, patience, and presence. While most people engage in idle chatter to fill the silence, a Sigma male sees communication as a precise tool, not a background hum. He's the type who notices the way someone's eyes shift when they're hiding something, or how their tone changes passion. It's observation. Call it high situation, a trait linked to emotional intelligence and adaptive thinking. It's why Sigma males often environments that require strategy and careful judgment, from negotiations to creative problem solving. In a world where many rush to speak before listening, the Sigma takes a different route. He listens so deeply that his responses seem almost surgical in precision. This awareness allows him to bypass surface-level interactions and connect to the core of what someone is truly expressing, often without them realizing it. Think of it as tuning into a frequency most people don't even know exists. And it's not just about reading others, it's about reading the room, the energy, and even himself. Ancient warriors, master chess players, and even seasoned detectives all share this trait, the ability to observe without announcing it. The Sigma tools this skill. He's never in a hurry to prove he's smart, yet he consistently proves it by understanding things others miss. To him, every subtle detail is a potential clue, every pause in conversation a chance to learn more. It's not performance, it's precision living, and it makes him someone people either find deeply intriguing or slightly unnerving. Because when you realize he's been paying attention all along, you also realize he's already 10 moves ahead. Number two, you have a strong energy. When a man, especially one with a Sigma male's mindset, acknowledges you, it's rarely about the obvious. He's not talking about physical looks. He's recognizing something deeper, an aura that can't be staged, photoshopped, or captured in a perfectly timed selfie. Think of it like the difference between a photograph of fire and the heat of a real flame. One can be admired, the other can be felt. This aura is your unique energy, the way you move through a room and how your presence lingers even after you leave. Psychology calls it a combination of micro-expressions, body language, and confidence that communicates volumes without a single word. People pick up often in less than 7 seconds. Unlike physical beauty, which is often bound to genetics or trends, this presence comes from self-awareness, life experiences, and emotional intelligence. You can't buy it and you can't fake it for long because it's rooted in authenticity. Historically, great leaders, artists, and innovators were remembered not just for their appearance, but for the intangible magnetism they radiated, Cleopatra's charm, for example, was said to be more about her intelligence and poise than her looks. A Sigma male with his detached yet observant nature is uniquely tuned to detect this quality. He notices the quiet confidence in how you hold eye contact, the unspoken self-respect in the way you carry yourself, and the calm undercurrent that makes others want to lean in when you speak. This is why his compliments carry weight. He's not echoing the shallow chorus of surface-level flattery. He's confirming that your inner presence is impossible to ignore. In a world obsessed with filters, likes, and artificial perfection, that's the kind of recognition that cuts through the noise and actually matters. Number 3, you think for yourself. In a world flooded with recycled ideas, trending opinions, and social media noise, independent thought has become a rare and valuable trait. Most people unconsciously adopt the beliefs of those around them, scrolling through feeds or echoing headlines without pausing to question their validity. This is why when a man with a Sigma mindset recognizes that you're not easily influenced, it carries weight. It's not a casual compliment. It's an acknowledgement of intellectual sovereignty, the ability to process information critically, challenge popular narratives, and make decisions based on evidence rather than conformity. History shows us the profound impact of such thinking. Galileo defied the geocentric model of the universe despite facing persecution, and Rosa Parks' refusal to surrender her seat sparked a pivotal civil rights movement. Psychologically, this reflects high self-differentiation, the capacity to maintain your beliefs and identity even under social pressure. Being independent doesn't mean being stubborn. It means having the courage to stand by your conclusions while navigating criticism or isolation. Humans are wired for social belonging, so resisting the herd is challenging, but the reward is personal freedom, influence, and progress. When a Sigma male notices this quality in you, he recognizes a rare strength, the ability to think for yourself and forge your own path in a world eager to conform. Number 4, I respect how you handled that. Respect from a Sigma male is never handed out like candy. It's earned through consistent action, resilience, and authenticity. Unlike people who might be impressed by superficial charm or loud displays of confidence, a Sigma pays close attention to how you carry yourself when life turns up the heat. Science actually backs up this kind of observation. Psychologists note that stress responses reveal more about a person's true character than their behavior in calm situations. A Sigma knows that anyone can appear composed when everything is going their way, but true strength is measured by how you handle yourself when the stakes are high and the outcome is uncertain. He values composure under pressure because it's a sign of self-control, a trait that's been linked in studies to better decision-making, stronger relationships, and even higher levels of respect in social groups. In the wild, composure was the mark of a capable leader or survivor, the one who could think clearly when predators were near or resources were scarce. In modern life, it's just as valuable, whether it's keeping your cool in a tense meeting, staying calm during a heated argument, or making rational choices in a crisis. This steadiness signals maturity and mental discipline. For the Sigma, such traits are a non-negotiable foundation for trust. He's not testing you in a manipulative way, but he is quietly observing whether you stand firm or crumble when challenges appear. If you can maintain that inner stability, he sees you not just as someone worth his time, but as someone capable of walking beside him through life's unpredictable storms. In his world, respect is like a rare currency. It's never printed in bulk, and once you've earned it, it's a sign you've passed one of his most important unspoken tests. Number 5, you make silence comfortable. Most people today live in a constant hum of noise, notifications pinging, conversations overlapping, music streaming, and the endless scroll of social media. Silence for many feels uncomfortable, even threatening, because it forces them to confront their own thoughts without distraction. Yet for someone like a Sigma male, silence isn't empty, it's full. It's not a void to escape from, but a space to breathe, think, and simply be. Psychologists have found that the brain's default mode network, which activates during rest and quiet moments, is linked to creativity, problem-solving, and self-reflection. This means that being at ease in silence isn't just a personality quirk, it's a sign of mental strength and inner stability. When you can sit quietly with a Sigma male without feeling the urge to fill the air with small talk, it shows that your energy aligns with his natural rhythm, unrushed, intentional, and deeply present. For him, comfort in silence is trust. It says you don't need constant validation or stimulation to feel connected. In fact, research shows that shared quiet moments can strengthen bonds more deeply than endless conversation, because they strip away performance and reveal authenticity. The world often mistakes silence for disinterest, but in the Sigma's world, it's respect. It means you value presence over performance and depth over noise. So when two people can share a still moment without awkwardness, it becomes a rare kind of harmony, one that speaks volumes without uttering a word. In a society addicted to noise, being able to embrace quiet is not just unusual, it's magnetic. It's the unspoken language of two minds moving at the same frequency, where nothing is forced and everything is felt. Number 6, you're consistent. For a Sigma male, discipline and reliability aren't just admirable qualities, they're the foundation of how he lives and measures the people in his circle. While others may be drawn to excitement fueled by chaos or unpredictability, he knows that consistency builds trust and strengthens relationships. In psychology, reliability is closely linked to emotional stability, a trait that reduces stress and fosters a sense of security in both personal and professional interactions. This is why a Sigma male often gravitates toward people whose actions align with their words, because trust isn't built on promises, it's built on patterns. Discipline, on the other hand, is what keeps his goals on track. It's not about being rigid or joyless, but about having the self-control to resist distractions and maintain focus, even when it's inconvenient. Think of it like a well-tuned compass. No matter how turbulent the storm, it keeps pointing toward the destination. This preference doesn't mean he avoids spontaneity altogether. It means he values stability as the backdrop for any adventure. For him, life's most rewarding experiences are built on a reliable foundation, not on chasing the fleeting highs of drama. That's why he invests in people and habits that hold steady when the rest of the world wavers. Number 7, you don't need the spotlight. A Sigma male sees strength in humility, a paradox that often confuses those around him, but lies at the heart of his minimalist worldview. Equate power with loudness, dominance, or the accumulation of wealth, he recognizes that true influence is quiet, deliberate, and rooted in self-awareness. Humility doesn't mean weakness, it's the ability to acknowledge one's limitations while still acting with confidence, a quality that often draws respect and intrigue from others. Studies in psychology suggest that individuals who exhibit humility tend to have stronger interpersonal relationships, higher emotional intelligence, and a more profound sense of purpose, all traits that align seamlessly with the Sigma male ethos. He doesn't seek validation through praise or recognition. Instead, his focus is inward, valuing personal growth, meaningful experiences, and depth over superficial success. This perspective allows him to navigate social dynamics without unnecessary competition, observing the world with clarity and choosing his interactions carefully. To him, humility is not performative. It's a reflection of self-mastery, patience, and an understanding that influence is earned, not demanded. In a world obsessed with status and visibility, this quiet strength is not only magnetic, but also revolutionary, demonstrating that sometimes the most compelling presence is the one that speaks softly yet resonates deeply. Number 8, you ask the right questions. For a Sigma male, curiosity is more than just a passing interest. It is intelligence in motion, a driving force that sets him apart from the crowd. Unlike those who follow routines or seek validation from others, a Sigma male approaches life with a relentless desire to understand the world on his own terms. This curiosity manifests not as idle questioning, but as active exploration, whether through observing human behavior, studying complex systems, or delving into philosophies and sciences that challenge conventional thinking. Historically, some of the greatest innovators, from Nikola Tesla to Leonardo da Vinci, displayed this same restless curiosity, using it as a tool to uncover truths that others overlooked. For the Sigma, asking questions is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of mental independence and critical thinking. Curiosity also fuels adaptability. By constantly seeking knowledge, a Sigma can navigate social dynamics and solve problems with insight and creativity, often in ways that surprise those around him. It is this intellectual restlessness paired with a quiet confidence and self-reliance that allows a Sigma male to operate both within society and outside of it, effortlessly mastering skills, understanding people, and uncovering opportunities that most would never notice. Curiosity for him is a path to freedom and mastery. Number 9, you see through nonsense. A Sigma male's rare and carefully measured compliments are far more than casual flattery. They are a subtle acknowledgement of sharp instincts, keen perception, and unyielding boundaries. Unlike the average person who might shower praise indiscriminately, a Sigma male observes deeply, sizing up character, behavior, and subtle cues before he speaks. When he does offer a compliment, it carries weight because it reflects a recognition of qualities that often go unnoticed: intuition, decisiveness, resilience, or moral strength. This is why such praise feels like a key, unlocking a hidden door, a rare nod to someone who operates on a wavelength that few can perceive. Psychologically, humans are wired to respond to meaningful social validation, and for a Sigma male, giving a compliment is a deliberate act, signaling respect and acknowledgement rather than mere admiration. It's also a reflection of his boundaries. He doesn't give attention lightly, and when he does, it marks a person as someone he values or perceives as worthy. Understanding this subtle social dynamic helps us see why interactions with Sigma males can feel both mystifying and magnetic. Their praise isn't just words, it's a silent communication. A sign that someone has passed the quiet test of discernment in their carefully calibrated world. And number 10, you're not afraid to be alone. To a Sigma male, self-sufficiency isn't just a trait, it's a language. It communicates confidence, discipline, and an unwavering sense of independence that draws people in without a single word. Unlike those who seek validation through constant attention or social approval, the Sigma male thrives in solitude, turning moments alone into opportunities for growth, reflection, and mastery. Psychologically, self-sufficiency signals resilience. It demonstrates that he can navigate challenges, make decisions, and sustain himself emotionally and materially, which naturally inspires respect and intrigue. Historically, societies have admired individuals who walk their own path. Think of inventors, explorers, and leaders who achieved greatness by trusting their instincts rather than following the crowd. In modern social dynamics, this magnetic independence manifests subtly. He doesn't chase, he observes, he moves deliberately, and he lets his actions speak louder than words. Those around him can't help but notice the quiet strength and reliability that comes from someone who doesn't need approval to exist fully. It's not arrogance, it's mastery of self. In essence, his self-sufficiency is both a shield and a beacon, drawing in curiosity, admiration, and sometimes envy, because it reflects a rare, almost untouchable level of personal freedom that most people spend their entire lives seeking. Number 11, you know when not to say anything. Restraint is power, and understanding this can completely shift the way people perceive you. In a world addicted to constant chatter, instant reactions, and oversharing, the ability to remain silent at the right moment is a rare and valuable skill. Psychologists have long noted that self-control is closely linked to emotional intelligence, and those who master it are often seen as more confident, composed, and influential. When you resist the urge to respond immediately, you create an aura of mystery and authority, signaling that your words are chosen, not wasted. Historically, many great leaders, from Abraham Lincoln to Mahatma Gandhi, demonstrated this principle, carefully weighing their words and letting silence speak as powerfully as speech. In social interactions, restraint allows you to observe, understand, and assess the environment before acting, giving you an edge in negotiations, relationships, and leadership. It also communicates respect. By not interrupting or oversharing, you show that you value others' perspectives and the flow of conversation. In essence, restraint transforms everyday moments into deliberate, meaningful exchanges, turning silence into a tool of influence, reflection, and sophistication. By mastering this, you elevate your presence in ways words alone could never achieve. Number 12, you're more than what people see. The ultimate compliment from a Sigma male isn't flashy, and it rarely lands where you expect it. Unlike casual flattery or empty praise, when a Sigma male offers a compliment, it's a deliberate acknowledgement of substance rather than surface-level beauty. He's telling you that he sees depth beyond appearances, that he recognizes the qualities others often overlook. Your resilience, your intelligence, your quiet strength, or the subtle ways you navigate the world with grace and conviction. Psychologically, this aligns with the Sigma male's preference for meaningful interactions. Studies in personality dynamics show that those who are more introspective tend to value authenticity and depth over superficial charm. When he notices the layers beneath the exterior, it's an indication that he's paying close attention, processing details others would miss, and forming a rare, insightful connection. This makes his praise more powerful because it validates the essence of who you are rather than just how you look or behave superficially. In a world saturated with empty compliments and performative social gestures, the Sigma male's acknowledgement is like a spotlight on the unseen dimensions of your character. It's subtle, yet transformative, showing that he respects not only what you present, but also who you genuinely are at your core. In his mind, these aren't sweet lines. They are rare acknowledgements of qualities that matter. They tell him he's found someone operating on a similar frequency, someone who understands the value of substance over surface. In a world addicted to patterns, routines, and predictable outcomes, there's always one figure who slips through the cracks, the pattern breaker. Most men follow the script society has pre-written for them, climbing the corporate ladder, seeking approval from peers, and measuring success by how loudly the world applauds. They compete for status like it's a limited resource, bending their identities to fit into molds they never questioned. But then there's him, a man who doesn't play the game, yet somehow ends up ahead without even looking like he tried. He refuses the leash. Whether it's braided from money, social clout, or desire, this man is the black swan of human behavior. You can't predict his moves, you can't fit him into a category. And the moment you think you understand him, he's already moved 3 steps ahead, operating in a place you didn't even know existed. The term black swan comes from Nassim Nicholas Taleb's work on rare and unpredictable events that have massive consequences, historically dismissed as impossible until they happen. In human terms, the Sigma male is that event. He's the deviation that makes the standard path look fragile and uninspired. You won't see him charging into the spotlight, you won't hear him demanding attention. But when he acts, the effects ripple outward, not with the chaos of noise, but with the precision of silence. Society thrives on systems, hierarchies, rituals, and rules telling people what to value and how to live. The Sigma male doesn't reject these systems out of rebellion. He simply operates outside them because he doesn't need them. He navigates the unmarked trails others are too hesitant to explore, existing in the space between societal lines. To most, he's invisible, but to those who notice, he's unforgettable. Understanding the Sigma male as the black swan isn't about glorifying an internet stereotype. It's about recognizing a mindset forged through discipline, observation, and complete self-ownership. In a culture built to keep people predictable through validation and fear, his independence isn't just unusual, it's disruptive. And disruption, when combined with quiet confidence, can be more powerful than any status, title, or crowd's approval. Number 1, self-reliance overdependency. He doesn't need a safety net of constant approval or a crowd to validate him because his identity is rooted in self-awareness rather than external applause. In psychology, this is often linked to a belief that one's life is shaped by personal choices and efforts rather than by fate or other people's opinions. While most people are conditioned from childhood to seek validation through grades, social likes, promotions, or the nod of approval from peers, he operates differently. His worth is defined by his own standards, not society's scoreboard, and that's not arrogance. It's emotional independence. This trait is rare in a world where dopamine hits from social media have rewired millions to equate worth with visibility. He measures success not by how many cheer for him, but by whether he is staying true to his principles. Imagine a rock climber scaling a cliff alone without a crowd at the bottom chanting his name. He still reaches the summit because the climb itself was the reward. Research on self-determination theory shows that individuals driven by intrinsic motivation, like personal growth, curiosity, and mastery, are more resilient and experience longer-lasting satisfaction than those chasing extrinsic rewards like money, fame, or approval. This mindset allows him to navigate setbacks without crumbling because his self-esteem isn't rented from others, it's owned outright. It's why he can walk away from toxic environments, decline offers that compromise his integrity, and avoid trends that don't align with his values. History is full of such figures, from Nikola Tesla, who ignored mainstream ridicule while pioneering technologies decades ahead of his time, to Leonardo da Vinci, whose relentless curiosity often led him to abandon popular commissions to pursue ideas the world wasn't ready for. These individuals understood that being anchored to your own compass is more valuable than being swept along by public opinion. In a way, his independence makes him unshakable because no applause means he's not distracted and no criticism means he's not derailed. It's not that he rejects all feedback, he's open to learning, but he filters it through his own principles before accepting it as truth. In a society obsessed with external validation, this inner-directed approach is both liberating and intimidating to others. It's why he stands out without trying, why he can work in silence yet still have the room notice when he walks in. He doesn't live to impress, he lives to express the truest version of himself. Number 2, strategic detachment. He's not cold, he's calculated. In a world where most people scatter their attention like confetti, he's the man who moves with precision. Like a sniper choosing a single bullet, he selects where to invest his time, energy, and emotions with surgical accuracy. This isn't about being heartless, it's about understanding the finite nature of personal resources. Psychology refers to this as emotional bandwidth, the limited capacity we have for processing and engaging with the people and situations around us. Just as a sniper studies wind direction, distance, and timing before pulling the trigger, he evaluates the potential outcomes of every interaction before committing himself. This calculated approach is backed by science. Studies on decision-making reveal that those who take longer to assess situations often make more accurate and rewarding choices than those who act impulsively. His detachment isn't apathy, it's strategy. He understands that constantly saying yes leads to burnout, scattered priorities, and diminished effectiveness. Instead, he says no to 90% of what crosses his path so that the 10% he commits to receives his full power and focus. This is the same principle elite athletes use when training. They don't try to master every sport at once, they pick their battles and go all in. People often mistake this intentional selectiveness for arrogance or aloofness, but in truth, it's a form of self-respect. By protecting his energy, has the mental clarity and emotional stability to show up fully where it matters most. In business, this is akin to focusing on high ROI investments, pouring resources only into what yields the greatest return. In relationships, it means surrounding himself with people who uplift and challenge him rather than drain him. In life, it's about choosing purpose over impulse, meaning over noise. That's why when he engages, people notice. His words carry more weight, his actions hit harder, and his presence feels more valuable because it's rare. Like a master chess player, he's always thinking 3 moves ahead, not because he fears the game, but because he respects it. And in a culture obsessed with constant motion, his ability to pause, aim, and fire only when necessary is not just a skill, it's his quiet superpower. Number 3, purpose over popularity. While others drift toward what's trending, the Sigma's compass is fixed on what matters to him, a direction that rarely shifts with the winds of public opinion. Trends by nature have a short shelf life. They spike in popularity, dominate conversations, and then fade into obscurity, often within months or even days. But the Sigma operates on a different wavelength. His focus is on building things that will outlast the hype cycle, projects, skills, and ambitions crafted with the patience of an artisan and the vision of a strategist. This mindset is rooted in an understanding of how value works over time. Sociologists note that while most people are influenced by what's known as social proof, the psychological tendency to copy what others are doing, Sigmas tend to be internally motivated, setting goals based on their own logic, passion, and principles, rather than external validation. This is why a Sigma might spend years quietly mastering a skill that no one pays attention to now, knowing it will pay off when the rest of the world catches up. History is filled with figures who operated this way. Nikola Tesla, who pursued innovations decades ahead of his time, or J.R.R. Tolkien, who spent more than a decade crafting The Lord of the Rings without chasing literary trends. Psychologists might call this low conformity and high conscientiousness, but for the Sigma, it's simply how he's wired. He's not allergic to recognition, he just doesn't measure his worth by it. While others pivot every time the crowd changes direction, the Sigma keeps walking his own path, trusting that the seeds he plants today will bear fruit tomorrow. This approach is not only more stable, but also often more profitable in the long run. A skill built over a decade will outlast the popularity of a social media dance challenge. A business rooted in solving real problems will endure long after the latest viral product fizzles out. The Sigma understands that applause is fleeting, but mastery is permanent. So while the world chases trends like waves on the surface of the ocean, the Sigma moves like the deep current beneath, steady, powerful, and destined to reshape the shoreline in his own time. Number 4, silent power in social settings. He can walk into a room and dominate it without saying a single word, not because he's trying to, but because his presence speaks louder than noise ever could. This isn't some mystical aura that only a chosen few are born with. It's a deliberate blend of calm body language, sharp observation, and the rare ability to stay grounded in a world addicted to performance. Psychologists have long noted that confidence is often communicated non-verbally, and studies on body language show that open posture, steady eye contact, and controlled movements signal dominance and self-assurance. But what sets him apart is the lack of desperation behind it. He's not performing for approval, he's simply existing in his own space with ease. This refusal to compete for attention works like reverse psychology on the human mind. In social dynamics, the scarcity principle suggests that people value what is rare, and in a room full of voices fighting to be heard, the man who doesn't push becomes the most intriguing. His deep observation plays an equally crucial role. By taking a moment to scan the environment, notice who's aligned with whom, and pick up on micro-expressions, he positions himself with a strategist's awareness. Research on social perception shows that people who observe before engaging often make a stronger impact when they finally speak because their contributions feel intentional and precise. Meanwhile, his calm energy creates what behavioral scientists call emotional contagion. Others unconsciously mirror his relaxed state, making him the silent anchor of the room. This mix of presence, patience, and self-control is why he doesn't need to outshine anyone. People naturally turn toward him. It's the same principle that makes a still lion more commanding than a barking dog, the quiet power of knowing, choosing not to. And while many chase the spotlight, he understands a deeper truth. In high-value social situations, influence isn't about being the loudest. It's about being the one who makes others feel they've just encountered someone worth remembering. This is why when he finally speaks, the room listens. Not because they have to, but because they want to. His silence isn't emptiness. It's a canvas on which everyone else's curiosity paints the picture. Number 5, respect without submission. A true Sigma male approaches respect not as a bargaining chip, but as a baseline principle. He treats people well because it aligns with his values, not because he's angling for favors or trying to secure a higher rung on the social ladder. This sets him apart in a world where too often respect is conditional, granted to those above in rank and withheld from those perceived as beneath. Sociologists have long observed that in hierarchical systems, individuals often adjust their behavior depending on the power dynamic, a phenomenon known as status accommodation. Alphas may expect deference and betas may expect guidance or dominance. But the Sigma male sidesteps both traps entirely. His respect is steady, grounded in his own moral compass rather than the shifting winds of social position. This independence makes him immune to power games. He neither grovels to authority nor condescends to those with less influence. In fact, his ability to stand before an alpha without bowing and to engage with a beta without patronizing unsettles people who rely on predictable patterns of dominance and submission. It's a kind of social aikido. By refusing to play the game, he removes the opponent's ability to win or lose against him. Psychologists might describe this as autonomous self-regulation, where one's actions are guided internally rather than manipulated externally. This approach also gives the Sigma a unique advantage. He can form authentic connections across all levels of a hierarchy because his behavior doesn't shift with status. People sense that he is genuine, which fosters trust, even if they can't quite figure out his angle, mainly because he doesn't have one. In workplaces, this might mean he speaks to the CEO with the same tone and candor as he does to the janitor. a move that often earns both admiration and confusion. In friendships, it manifests as consistent loyalty without hidden agendas. The Sigma's quiet refusal to be swayed by titles or positions not only keeps him grounded, but also shields him from the toxic politics that can drain others. In a culture obsessed with climbing ladders, his calm detachment is almost rebellious. He's not against progress, but he refuses to sacrifice his authenticity for the illusion of power. And that, ironically, gives him more influence than those frantically competing for it. Number 6, walking away as a weapon. When a Sigma male senses that a situation has turned toxic, manipulative, or unproductive, he doesn't waste his energy in endless arguments or emotional tug-of-wars. He simply leaves. This quiet exit isn't a sign of weakness or avoidance. In fact, it's the opposite. Psychologically, it's one of the most powerful responses a person can make. By refusing to engage in drama, he demonstrates what behavioral experts call self-preservation through boundary enforcement. His absence sends a message that resonates far deeper than any verbal counterattack. He is immune to control. Studies in social psychology have shown that withdrawal from a conflict, when done intentionally, can disrupt the manipulator's power because it denies them the fuel they need, your attention and emotional reaction. In a way, it's like oxygen being cut off from a fire. Without it, the flames die out. Sigma males understand that engaging with someone who thrives on chaos only entrenches you deeper into their game. Instead, they operate on the principle of cost-benefit analysis. If a situation costs more in peace, energy, and dignity than it gives in resolution, they walk away. And they do so without theatrics, no slamming doors, no social media outbursts, just a silent, calculated departure. Ironically, this non-reaction often hits harder than any argument could. It unsettles those who expected a fight, because silence denies closure, denies validation, and denies them the satisfaction of knowing they got under your skin. In evolutionary psychology terms, it's a display of autonomy and resource control. The signal that his time, attention, and emotional investment are too valuable to be wasted. That's why his absence feels so heavy. It's not just physical, it's symbolic. It tells people that his identity, stability, and self-worth aren't anchored to anyone else's approval or control. The Sigma male's exit is not an act of running away. It's a statement that he chooses his battles wisely. And some wars simply aren't worth fighting. And while others may spend hours or days trying to prove their point in heated exchanges, he proves his in seconds by walking away. It's not about winning the argument, it's about winning his own peace. That's a victory no manipulator can ever take from him. Number 7, skill mastery as armor. He invests deeply in his craft, knowing that skill is the purest form of independence. True mastery as a currency that never devalues, a shield against the whims of the world. History shows us that the people who shape civilizations, be they inventors, artists, or thinkers, were not those who waited for approval, but those who poured themselves relentlessly into their work until it spoke louder than any introduction could. Think of Leonardo da Vinci, who dissected cadavers to understand anatomy not because he had to, but because his curiosity demanded it. Or Nikola Tesla, who would spend nights in his lab consumed by the vision of a world lit by wireless energy. When you're exceptional at something, you don't need permission to create impact. Your skill becomes the passport that allows you to move freely, unhindered by gatekeepers. In today's world, where algorithms dictate visibility and trends can be manufactured overnight, genuine expertise cuts through the noise. It commands respect even from those who may not like you, because ability is difficult to fake for long. The process of becoming exceptional isn't glamorous. It's built on countless hours of practice, the willingness to fail repeatedly, and the discipline to refine even when no one is watching. But this investment compounds. The more you build your craft, the less dependent you become on validation, resources, or approval from others. A skilled person can step into a room and shift its energy simply by demonstrating competence. People instinctively trust those who have clearly done the work. In a way, mastery is the ultimate form of quiet rebellion. It frees you from having to beg for opportunities because you have the power to create them. The world eventually notices those who consistently deliver excellence, and when it does, the leverage shifts in your favor. This is why the Sigma-type individual doesn't chase the spotlight. He builds something so solid that the spotlight has no choice but to find him. Skill is not just a tool for success, it is the foundation of autonomy, influence, and legacy. Once you have it, no one can take it away without your consent. Number 8, legacy over ego. His ultimate goal isn't to be liked, it's to leave something behind that can't be erased. For a man like this, legacy matters more than popularity. It could take the form of a business that outlives him, a philosophy that reshapes how others think, a body of work that inspires generations, or a societal shift sparked by his actions. History shows us that the most transformative figures, think Nikola Tesla, Marcus Aurelius, or Steve Jobs, often weren't chasing applause. They were driven by an unshakable vision. He understands that empires rise and crumble, and trends fade like yesterday's headlines, but true impact leaves an imprint in the collective memory. This is where the black swan effect comes in, a rare, unexpected event that changes everything, often in ways no one predicted. He may not be the loudest voice in the room, but his actions quietly alter the terrain for everyone else. Decades later, people might not remember his name, but they'll live in the world he helped shape. For him, the aim isn't to be visible today, it's to be undeniable tomorrow, ensuring that his trail remains carved into the landscape of time long after he's gone. A Sigma male can't be controlled because control thrives on predictability, and the Sigma refuses to be predictable. He doesn't just think outside the box, he walks past it without even glancing inside. Like the black swan theory and probability, his actions are rare, disruptive, and impossible to forecast, making any attempt to manipulate him futile. While most follow social scripts written by others, he writes his own and never surrenders the pen. This autonomy is his armor. It keeps him unseen when he chooses, unfazed by trends, and unforgettable to those who try and fail to fit him into a mold. Most men fear being alone because they equate solitude with emptiness. But a Sigma male sees it differently. He fears losing himself in the wrong company. This isn't a romanticized idea. It's rooted in psychology and history. Great thinkers like Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, and Henry David Thoreau often thrived in solitude because it gave them space to think deeply, innovate, and live authentically. For the Sigma male, time alone doesn't weaken him, it sharpens him. Every day without unnecessary attachments becomes an investment in self-mastery. While the average man believes he's missing something by not having constant companionship, the Sigma knows he's building something, his mind, his mission, his independence. He's in no rush for attention, approval, or love that comes with conditions because he understands that to enhance his life, not chain it down. Society often tells men they're incomplete without a partner, but the Sigma flips the script. The longer he walks alone, the stronger and more self-reliant he becomes. While others rush to fill silence with distractions, he uses that silence as a mental gym, training his focus, discipline, and creativity. Most men trade freedom for fleeting validation, but the Sigma refuses cheap deals. This isn't loneliness, it's strategic isolation. In fact, research shows that people who spend time alone with purpose often have higher levels of creativity, emotional intelligence, and decision-making skills. The Sigma understands relationships are powerful. They can amplify your growth or completely drain you. For him, singlehood isn't a waiting room for something better to arrive. It's a training ground where he fortifies his boundaries, sharpens his vision, and aligns his life with his deeper values. While society measures a man's worth by his relationship status, the Sigma measures his worth by his freedom, his ability to live on his own terms. And to truly grasp why singlehood gives him power, you'd have to step into his world, a place where every choice is intentional, every friendship is earned, and every day alone is a step closer to becoming the strongest version of himself. In his eyes, solitude isn't the absence of love, it's the presence of control over his destiny. Number 1, immune to society's pressure. The world runs on attachment like it's some universal law. From childhood, we're fed the idea that we're incomplete unless we find someone to complete us. Movies, books, and even casual conversations reinforce this narrative, that happiness is a shared destination, never a solo journey. Social scientists point out that humans are inherently social creatures, hardwired for connection, which makes this belief feel almost biologically justified. But the Sigma male walks through this noise as if it's nothing more than background static. He understands that while human connection is valuable, it is not a prerequisite for wholeness. This mindset isn't born from arrogance or an inability to connect. It's the result of a deep, almost philosophical conviction that personal fulfillment must be cultivated from within. History is full of individuals who thrived in solitude. Nikola Tesla chose his work over conventional relationships. Leonardo da Vinci's mind roamed freely without being tied to domestic life. And countless explorers, inventors, and thinkers spent years alone in pursuit of their calling. The Sigma male draws from this same well of self-reliance, seeing attachment not as a lifeline, but as an optional companion to his journey. He knows that attaching too heavily can cloud judgment, weaken independence, and even derail one's mission. Psychologists have studied how constant social validation can create dependency loops where self-worth is measured by the approval of others, a trap the Sigma avoids like a seasoned traveler sidestepping quicksand. This doesn't mean he's incapable of love or relationships. Rather, he enters them without the desperation to fill an inner void. If he chooses a partner, it's from a position of abundance, not lack. This detachment gives him an almost magnetic aura. He doesn't chase, and yet people find themselves drawn to his quiet self-possession. In a world where most are scrambling for validation, the Sigma's refusal to conform makes him stand out even more. He listens to the world's endless chatter about needing someone, nods politely, and keeps walking. His fulfillment comes from mastering his craft, exploring his passions, and living in alignment with his values. If companionship joins him on the path, it's welcome, but if not, the journey remains whole, undiminished, and entirely his own. That's the power of being untouched by the noise. Number 2. Resists engineered dependency. Media and marketing have perfected the art of selling not just products, but emotions. They thrive on human vulnerability, on that subtle sense of lack that whispers, "You're not enough until you have this." Psychologists call it the hedonic treadmill, a cycle where people chase temporary satisfaction only to find themselves craving more. This cycle works best on those who need constant validation, approval, and belonging. But here's where the Sigma male throws a wrench into the machine. His emotional detachment short-circuits the system. He doesn't buy into the idea that identity must be purchased or that happiness is sold in neatly packaged boxes. For him, freedom is the highest currency, not money, not popularity, not even comfort if that comfort comes at the cost of his autonomy. History shows that many great innovators, thinkers, and leaders valued this same principle. From Diogenes, the ancient Greek philosopher who rejected societal norms, to Henry David Thoreau, who wrote Walden in Solitude, those who refused to conform have often been the ones who saw reality most clearly. The Sigma understands that joining in often means losing something more valuable than the group offers: time, energy, and independence. When society says join us, he runs a silent calculation: the benefits versus the price to his self-direction. More often than not, that cost is simply too high. This is not arrogance, it's mathematics. The cost of surrendering your own compass for someone else's map is rarely worth the journey, and while the majority follow trends to feel safe and accepted, the Sigma is content to stand at the edge, observing, understanding, and choosing only what aligns with his purpose. In a culture where distraction is the norm and individuality is often repackaged into marketable personal brands, his detachment is both rebellion and protection. He isn't anti-social, he's anti-manipulation. He knows that every invitation, every advertisement, every social pressure carries an unspoken trade. We'll give you comfort if you give us control, and for him that's a deal not worth making. The result? A life that may look unconventional from the outside but feels deeply authentic from within. A life where freedom is not just a philosophy but the non-negotiable foundation of every decision. Number 3, razor-sharp focus. A Sigma male understands something many overlook. The wrong partner doesn't just cause emotional turbulence, it drains mental bandwidth, the very fuel that powers his growth. Every conversation laced with manipulation, every unnecessary argument, and every toxic cycle chips away at the focus he could be using to sharpen his skills, strengthen his body, build wealth, or expand his wisdom. Psychology calls this cognitive load, the finite capacity our minds have for processing information and making decisions. If a relationship is constantly demanding emotional firefighting, there's less space for strategic thinking, creativity, and self-improvement. History shows that great minds, from Nikola Tesla to Isaac Newton, often guarded their solitude fiercely, avoiding entanglements that could divert them from their purpose. For the Sigma, distraction isn't harmless background noise, it's the enemy of power. He knows that mastery in any field, whether it's business, art, combat, or personal development, requires deep, sustained focus. Neuroscience backs this up. Deliberate practice and flow states, the conditions in which humans perform at their best, demand undivided attention. Even a few percentage points of mental diversion over time can compound into massive skill gaps. This is why the Sigma treats his mind like prime real estate. Only the most valuable tenants get space. He doesn't see relationships as inherently bad. In fact, the right partner can amplify his mission. But he refuses to pay the hidden tax of emotional chaos because he knows that power, true power, comes from controlling his time, his energy, and his thoughts. Like a disciplined warrior sharpening his blade daily, he invests his mental bandwidth where the returns are exponential, mastering his craft, growing his influence, and building a life that cannot be shaken by external noise. To outsiders, this can look cold or detached, but to him, it's the purest form of self-respect. The Sigma understands that life is a finite resource, and to squander it on toxic distraction is to sabotage his own potential. In a world where attention is the new currency, he is wealthy. Not because he has more hours than anyone else, but because he refuses to spend them carelessly. He knows that a man who masters himself and his environment holds a power far greater than one who simply reacts to whatever and whoever crosses his path. Number 4. Emotional sovereignty. He never outsources his happiness because he understands a truth many overlook. When you hand over the keys to your emotional state, you've surrendered the most precious form of freedom, your inner sovereignty. For him, happiness isn't a gift to be granted by others. It's a fortress he builds brick by brick, day after day, with habits, discipline, and self-awareness as his mortar. Every day he spends single isn't a countdown clock to loneliness, but a construction project. He's laying strong foundations of self-respect, emotional intelligence, and resilience. Psychology backs this up. Research shows that those with a strong internal locus of control, meaning they believe they are responsible for their own outcomes, tend to be happier, healthier, and more successful. His moods aren't left vulnerable to someone else's bad day or passing opinion, and his peace isn't a fragile glass that shatters when life gets noisy. He guards it like a medieval castle against invaders because he knows that once it's gone, the world becomes his master. Respect, too, is non-negotiable. He doesn't chase it, he cultivates it. And here's where many misinterpret him. To the untrained eye, his quietness may look like passivity, retreat, or even weakness, but in reality, it's a calculated discipline. Silence is where the mind recalibrates, strategizes, and sharpens its edge. Neuroscience tells us that moments of intentional quiet can boost creativity, lower stress hormones, and even regenerate brain cells in the hippocampus, the part of the brain tied to learning and memory. So, when he withdraws into his thoughts, he's not avoiding the battle, he's training for it. He understands what Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, once wrote: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." For him, life isn't about controlling the uncontrollable, but mastering the only real estate he can own forever, his inner world. Outsourcing happiness means gambling with your peace, and he's no gambler. The fortress he builds isn't just for himself. It's for the life he intends to lead, unshaken by storms, unbroken by losses, and unmoved by the noise of the crowd. While others spend their energy reacting to every flicker of external change, he invests in the quiet, unglamorous work of building himself into someone so steady, no one else's chaos can touch him. Number 5, chooses connections, never chases them. Others scatter their attention like confetti at a parade, bright, flashy, but easily carried away by the wind. The Sigma male, however, is a strategist of focus, a man who knows that attention is the most valuable currency in the modern world. In an age of endless notifications, quick dopamine hits, and the constant pressure to be everywhere at once, the Sigma's refusal to participate in this chaos isn't just a personality quirk, it's a survival strategy. Neuroscientists have shown that the human brain can only truly focus on one task at a time, and every distraction can cost up to 23 minutes to regain deep concentration. This is why the Sigma treats his attention like a high-security vault. If a project, conversation, or relationship doesn't align with his core values, he has no hesitation in walking away. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. He understands that saying yes to something meaningless is saying no to what truly matters. Psychologists call this selective attention, but the Sigma elevates it into an art form. He's not just filtering noise, he's curating his reality. This often confuses others, who see his quiet withdrawal as disinterest or aloofness, when in fact it's a calculated investment of his energy into things that yield real growth. And here's the fascinating twist. This selectivity often gives him an edge in both personal and professional life. While others chase every shiny opportunity, burning out in the process, the Sigma builds depth in fewer but more meaningful pursuits. Over time, this focused approach compounds like interest in a bank account, leading to expertise, self-mastery, and influence that others can't match. The truth is, walking away is a skill. It requires self-awareness to know your values, discipline to resist distractions, and courage to let go of things that promise quick gratification but offer no lasting worth. The Sigma male doesn't fear missing out. He fears wasting time on what doesn't matter. And in a world where attention is constantly under siege, this ability to filter, focus, and fiercely protect his mental space is not just rare, it's revolutionary. His life is proof that focus is freedom, and that walking away from the wrong thing is often the fastest path to the right one. Number 6, harder to manipulate. To control a man, you must first make him need you, but here lies the riddle the world can't solve. The Sigma needs no one. In a society built on social debts, hidden agendas, and emotional strings, most people's lives are like tangled webs of favors owed, approval sought, and comfort borrowed. These invisible ties create leverage, the unspoken power someone holds over you because they have something you think you can't live without. Throughout history, control has rarely been about brute force, it's been about dependence. In politics, kings controlled nobles through land grants, employers control workers through wages, and in relationships, manipulation thrives. When one person convinces another that their happiness, status, or future hinges on staying in their orbit. The Sigma, however, dismantles this system before it can even start. He deliberately avoids blind spots, the emotional and psychological vulnerabilities others can exploit, and he never accrues emotional debts, meaning he doesn't engage in transactional relationships where kindness is a currency with strings attached. By refusing to let anyone hold leverage over him, he maintains a level of autonomy that feels almost alien in our hyper-connected, approval-addicted age. This doesn't mean he's antisocial or incapable of connections are chosen, not needed. He enters relationships out of genuine interest, not because he requires validation, resources, or a safety net. This makes manipulation nearly impossible because there's nothing to threaten, no essential lifeline to cut. Psychologists often point out that the healthiest form of attachment is secure independence, where one can bond deeply without losing personal identity or self-sufficiency, something the Sigma embodies almost effortlessly. In an era where people are conditioned to measure worth through likes, follows, and constant reassurance, the Sigma's stance is not just rare, it's unsettling to those who rely on others' needs to feel powerful. They can't figure out how to hook him because he swims outside the net. By needing nothing external to define him, he operates on a plane where control tactics collapse on impact. The irony is that this independence makes him even more magnetic. People are drawn to those they cannot control, even if they don't admit it. And that perhaps is the Sigma's quietest, sharpest power. Freedom disguised as mystery, and mystery that can't be bought. Number 7, value compounds over time. While most people spend years entangled in relationships, friendships, or social expectations that drain their energy and distract them from their true potential, the Sigma male takes a radically different approach himself. He understands that personal growth, discipline, and self-mastery are compounding assets that no one can take away. While the average person is busy seeking validation or approval, the Sigma focuses on building skills, knowledge, and experiences that create long-term leverage in life. This isn't just theory. Studies in psychology and behavioral economics show that individuals who prioritize self-improvement over social conformity tend to achieve higher levels of competence, confidence, and financial independence. By dedicating time to learning, cultivating emotional intelligence, and maintaining physical and mental discipline, the Sigma accumulates advantages quietly but powerfully. Wealth often follows, not as a result of luck, but as a byproduct of strategic thinking and consistent effort. Depth emerges naturally because he doesn't rush relationships or succumb to superficial distractions. Instead, he develops a rich inner world capable of insight, empathy, and creative problem solving. Discipline becomes his signature, visible in how he manages time, energy, and focus with precision, turning everyday actions into milestones toward mastery. While society pressures the average person to conform, to chase fleeting desires or relational comfort, the Sigma understands that freedom and security are built, not begged for. By the time others realize they've been trapped in patterns that limit their potential, the Sigma has already carved a path few even imagined. He doesn't compete for attention. He builds empires internally and externally, leaving a quiet, undeniable mark on the world. In essence, the Sigma's power lies in foresight, patience, and self-investment, proving that the most extraordinary successes are reserved not for those who follow the crowd, but for those who first conquer themselves. Number 8, legacy without compromise. The longer a Sigma male remains single, the more focused and refined his purpose becomes. Unlike the average man who often seeks validation or comfort in relationships, a Sigma sees solitude not as loneliness but as an essential instrument for growth. Time alone becomes a crucible, sharpening his mind, honing his skills, and clarifying his vision. Each passing day without distraction allows him to pursue projects, ideas, and goals with relentless precision. History is full of individuals who thrived in solitude. Think Nikola Tesla, who spent years in isolation to perfect his inventions, or Henry David Thoreau, who retreated to Walden Pond to discover profound truths about life and self-reliance. These men exemplify how deliberate isolation can cultivate originality, creativity, and clarity of purpose. For a Sigma, the absence of external noise prevents dilution of his mission. He doesn't chase trends or conform to societal expectations. Instead, he carves his own path, leaving marks that are authentic and lasting. His achievements are not motivated by praise or approval, but by a deeper drive to create, innovate, and influence. Solitude is not a pause in his life. It is the engine of his progress. The Sigma's single state becomes a laboratory for self-discovery, experimentation, and mastery. By choosing focus over fleeting attachments, he accumulates experiences, wisdom, and skills that cannot be learned in the chaos of conformity. In essence, each day spent alone strengthens his ability to leave a unique imprint on the world, proving that true impact comes not from blending in, but from daring to stand apart and build something that is entirely his own. The Sigma male doesn't avoid relationships out of fear, but out of self-respect, understanding that the wrong connection can derail his path. Each period of solitude strengthens his foundation, building resilience and clarity. When he finally allows someone in, it's not from need, but because they can match his pace without holding him back. In a culture obsessed with instant gratification, his patience is a quiet rebellion, his singlehood a reservoir of untapped potential, waiting for the perfect moment to unfold. When the blade comes, he does not flinch. When the door closes, he does not chase. When the truth hits, he does not argue, he simply disappears. Most men respond to emotional pain with noise, raised voices, pleading words, or frantic explanations. The Sigma male, however, is wired differently. His silence is not weakness. It is a deliberate calculation. When a woman wounds him, whether through betrayal, disrespect, or manipulation, he does not bleed out for the world to see. Instead, he leaves quietly, often without a trace, like a shadow retreating from the light. This detachment is not born from coldness, but from mastery of self-control. In a society that equates loud reactions with authenticity, the Sigma male plays an entirely different game. He rejects the social theater that demands drama to validate pain. While others perform their heartbreak for sympathy or closure, he becomes the observer, absorbing, processing, and choosing his next step with surgical precision. Psychologists note that this level of emotional restraint often stems from high self-awareness and an internal locus of control. The belief that one's life is shaped by inner discipline rather than external chaos. When hurt, the sigma enters a strategic pause. It's the kind of stillness that unsettles people because it's not passive, it's loaded. It is the calm before a permanent withdrawal, the quiet of a man who understands that the truest form of power is in control, not display. Unlike the average man who might need validation or reconciliation, the sigma needs neither. His decisions are final, made in silence with the same precision as a sniper's trigger pull. He recalibrates his life without fanfare, often erasing the offending person from his world entirely. To outsiders, it may look like he vanished. To him, it is simply moving on without leaving emotional fingerprints. This response is rooted in his worldview, one where dignity outweighs revenge, where emotional independence shields him from manipulation, and where his presence is a privilege, never a guarantee. In the Sigma's world, when trust is broken, the story doesn't end with an argument, it ends with absence. And that absence, more than any words, delivers the message. Number 1, he withdraws without warning. There's no farewell speech, no explanation. The Sigma removes himself from her world like a shadow fading at dawn. And this is not just a matter of personality, it's a strategy rooted in self-preservation and psychological strength. In human social dynamics, particularly in relationships, the one who controls the narrative often holds the emotional upper hand. By leaving without drama or prolonged confrontation, the Sigma refuses to hand over the script of his life for someone else to edit. Psychologists call this withdrawing reinforcement, where removing your presence and energy from someone who mistreats you disrupts their ability to continue influencing you emotionally. The Sigma understands that in the aftermath of hurt, words often complicate rather than clarify, and emotional outbursts can be weaponized against you. So he opts for silence, not as a passive act, but as a decisive move to preserve dignity. This approach also taps into a deeper behavioral truth. Absence creates a psychological vacuum. Studies on attachment theory suggest that sudden withdrawal can trigger a re-evaluation in the mind of the other person, sometimes leading them to confront their own behavior more effectively than any argument would. But the Sigma isn't doing this to spark regret in her. His aim is self-liberation. Like a soldier retreating from a lost battlefield to preserve his strength for the next mission, he conserves his emotional resources for people and pursuits that matter. By disappearing quietly, he robs her of the satisfaction of seeing him wounded or desperate. It's a move that aligns with the predator's mindset in nature. When an animal is injured, it retreats into the shadows to heal, avoiding predators that prey on weakness. In the modern social jungle, emotional predators are just as real, and the Sigma refuses to give them a feeding ground. This detachment is not cold-heartedness. It is emotional intelligence in action, a refusal to let temporary pain become a permanent prison. While others may linger in toxic cycles, hoping for closure or vindication, the Sigma writes his own closure by simply walking away and never looking back. In doing so, he transforms the end of one chapter into the unshackled beginning of another, proving that sometimes the loudest statement you can make is complete, unshakable silence. Number 2, he processes in solitude. Pain is a private thing, and for a man with a Sigma mindset, it's something he processes behind closed doors, away from the noise and unsolicited advice of the world. When he's hurt, he doesn't rush to social media for sympathy or gather a crowd to validate his feelings. Instead, he retreats into solitude, not to wallow, but to think with surgical precision. His time alone is not about replaying the wound on a loop like a sad movie. It's about dissecting the moment with the objectivity of a scientist studying an anomaly. Psychology calls this cognitive appraisal, a process where we break down events to understand their cause, meaning, and personal impact. The Sigma male uses this mental tool to pinpoint where the breach occurred. Was it a misjudgment of character, a failure to set boundaries, or simply an unavoidable clash of human flaws? He's not afraid to be brutally honest with himself, because self-deception would only plant seeds for the same pain to grow again. And here's where the quiet brilliance of his approach shines. He searches for the lesson beneath the hurt. This is more than cliché self-help. It's a survival mechanism rooted in emotional intelligence, which research shows is a key factor in resilience and long-term success. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" he reframes it to, "What is this trying to teach me?" It could be a reminder to trust his instincts more, to slow down before giving trust, or to recognize when someone's words and actions don't align. By internalizing the lesson, he transforms pain from a parasite into a teacher, ensuring it leaves behind wisdom instead of scars. In this way, the Sigma male treats emotional wounds the same way a master craftsman handles broken tools. He studies the damage, repairs what's fixable, and learns how to prevent the same break again. And when he emerges from that period of quiet analysis, it's with a deeper sense of clarity and a sharper instinct for the road ahead. His silence during pain is not weakness. It's a strategic recalibration, the kind that ensures when he walks back into the world, he does so stronger, smarter, and more immune to making the same mistake twice. Number 3, he strips away emotional attachment. The moment trust is broken, the Sigma cuts the emotional cord. He doesn't cling to what could have been. He accepts reality for what it is. That choice is less an act of spite and more an exercise in emotional triage. When a relationship's foundation cracks, the Sigma assesses the structural damage quickly, removes himself from the immediate hazard, and redirects his energy toward repair and growth rather than rumination. This behavior is grounded in recognizable psychological principles: emotional regulation, boundary setting, and a low tolerance for toxic patterns, and it gets results because it prevents prolonged exposure to stressors that erode well-being. Cutting the cord doesn't mean obliterating memory or pretending nothing happened. It means changing who gets priority access to your inner life. Imagine your emotional life as a finely tuned instrument. If a string snaps, a craftsman either replaces it or retunes the instrument so it still produces music. But he doesn't sit and stroke the broken string hoping it will heal itself. Practically, a Sigma will name the boundary, "I won't tolerate deceit," state a consequence calmly, and follow through, which aligns with research showing that consistent boundaries reduce anxiety and foster healthier interactions over time. There's a social intelligence to this too. The Sigma anticipates relational contagion, the way one person's instability can spread and affect performance, creativity, and mood in subtle ways. By acting decisively, he preserves his capacity for work, thought, and connection with people who demonstrate reliability. It's also worth noting the neurochemical angle. Trust builds through repeated, predictable behavior and is reinforced by neurochemicals like oxytocin. When consistency stops, those biochemical rewards decline and the brain naturally withdraws. The Sigma listens to that withdrawal instead of trying to forcibly recreate feelings that are gone. Entertainingly, this doesn't make him unbeatable or unbreakable. He still feels disappointment and grief, but his method is efficient and dignified, like a high-level chess player sacrificing a piece to avoid a checkmate later. The lesson for anyone watching is useful. Cutting an emotional cord can be a skill, not a failure. Practice naming the breach, stating your limit, and reallocating your attention to people and projects that repay trust. Over time, you'll find that doing so increases resilience, sharpens discernment, and leaves room for relationships that are actually worth keeping. Number 4, he redirects energy into self-improvement. Every hurt becomes fuel for the Sigma male, but not in the bitter, vengeful sense most people imagine. He understands a timeless truth backed by psychology. Pain, when redirected, can become a catalyst for extraordinary transformation. Studies in neuroplasticity show that the human brain rewires itself in response to new experiences and challenges, and emotional pain, when met with intention, can spark profound personal growth. Instead of wasting time chasing what's broken or begging for what's gone, he diverts all that emotional energy into building himself up. He starts honing skills that expand his value in the marketplace, cultivating the discipline to follow through on commitments, and strengthening his body through consistent training and nutrition. In doing so, he engages in a process not unlike the forging of steel. High heat and intense pressure turn him into something far stronger than before. History offers countless parallels. Great leaders, inventors, and athletes have often emerged from moments of personal loss or rejection, channeling that sting into relentless pursuit of mastery. The Sigma male treats his setbacks as tuition for the school of life, knowing that while he can't always control what happens, he can absolutely control how he responds. Financially, he might redirect what he once spent on distractions into investments, savings, or ventures that bring him closer to independence. Emotionally, he builds a fortress of self-reliance, not to shut the world out, but to ensure his happiness no longer depends on someone else's validation. In fitness and health, he understands that strength isn't just about looking good, it's about having the stamina, resilience, and mental clarity to handle whatever life throws at him. Every wound becomes a reminder not of weakness, but of the capacity to adapt and thrive. Over time, the people who doubted him begin to see the transformation, but by then, their opinions no longer matter. He's already on a higher plane, operating with a sharper mind, a stronger body, and a more unshakable spirit. He has turned the wound into a weapon, not to attack others, but to carve out a future so solid that nothing fragile or fleeting can topple it again. That is the silent power of the Sigma male. He doesn't just survive the hurt, he alchemizes it into unstoppable momentum. Number 5, he maintains absolute composure. No matter what she says or does afterwards, she will never see him lose control. Silence becomes his armor. For the Sigma male, this isn't about being cold or unfeeling, it's about discipline. Psychologists often note that people who master emotional regulation gain an edge in both personal and professional relationships. This is because in moments of conflict, the human brain's amygdala is wired to react impulsively, flooding the body with adrenaline and cortisol, which can cloud judgment. The Sigma male refuses to let biology dictate his dignity. Instead of responding with raised voices or emotional outbursts, he draws upon the ancient principle of Stoicism, a philosophy embraced by great thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, who believed that the key to power lies in mastering oneself. His silence is not passive, it is an active strategy. It denies the other person the satisfaction of provoking him, while giving him time to process, think, and choose the most effective response. In modern behavioral science, this is called a tactical pause, a moment deliberately taken to regain clarity before action. By saying nothing, he controls the tempo of the interaction, forcing the other person to wrestle with their own words in the echo chamber of his stillness. This kind of control also shifts the power dynamic. The one who reacts least is often perceived as the one in charge. It's not that he lacks the words, he simply refuses to waste them in a moment when they would lose their value. His silence communicates volumes, that he is unshaken, self-reliant, and immune to manipulation. In fact, research shows that silence in tense exchanges can disarm aggressors more effectively than confrontation because it removes the emotional fuel they're trying to ignite. Over time, this becomes a reputation. People know he cannot be baited, bought, or broken by provocation. And in a world that thrives on instant reactions, the Sigma male's refusal to be rushed makes him an anomaly. He becomes unpredictable, and unpredictability is a form of quiet power. This doesn't mean he avoids all confrontation. When it's time to speak, his words cut with surgical precision because they are rare, considered, and impossible to ignore. Until then, his silence stands as an invisible shield, a statement of strength without ever having to raise his voice. In that stillness, he not only preserves his own peace, but also commands the kind of respect that no argument could ever win. Number 6, he removes access completely, blocked, deleted, erased. For a Sigma male, these aren't just dramatic reactions, they're decisive, calculated moves. He sees access to him not as an open-door policy, but as a carefully granted privilege, something earned over time and guarded with quiet intensity. When someone abuses that privilege, whether through betrayal, manipulation, or consistent disrespect, he doesn't rage, negotiate, or plead for understanding. Instead, he makes a final, often silent decision to remove that person from his life completely. This isn't impulsive. Psychology calls it emotional detachment, a protective mechanism that shields his mental well-being and preserves his energy for those who truly value it. Studies in behavioral psychology suggest that people with strong self-respect and clear personal boundaries are less likely to tolerate repeated toxic behavior. The Sigma male embodies this principle almost instinctively. In his world, burning bridges isn't about bitterness, it's about preserving peace. Once the door closes, there's no secret latch or maybe someday clause, it's locked permanently. To outsiders, this might seem cold or unforgiving, but it's actually a deeply rational approach rooted in the understanding that time is finite and emotional resources are limited. Allowing someone back in after repeated harm is to him like leaving a vault open after a robbery. It's an invitation for history to repeat itself. His value system runs on reciprocity, loyalty for loyalty, respect for respect. Violate that, and you've essentially terminated your membership in his life without the possibility of renewal. He doesn't send long messages explaining why. In fact, he often leaves without much explanation at all, trusting that the consequences of the other person's actions are self-evident. Sociologists note that this boundary enforcement is a sign of high self-efficacy, the belief that one can control their environment by choosing who gets to influence it. For the Sigma, it's not about revenge, it's about reclaiming control over his life's emotional landscape. And because his circle is already small, losing a spot in it is not just a minor inconvenience. It's the equivalent of being written out of a rare, exclusive book where the author doesn't do reprints. Once your chapter ends, it ends permanently. And if you ever find yourself wondering why you can't get back in, the truth is simple. You didn't just lose him, you lost access to a world you may never encounter again. I can also give you an even sharper, more cinematic version of this, so it reads like a movie scene rather than just a paragraph. That would make it even more gripping. Number 7. He learns her patterns. A Sigma male's response to betrayal isn't driven by revenge, it's driven by evolution. When someone wrongs him, he doesn't waste time plotting payback. Instead, he treats the experience like a data-gathering mission. He studies the situation, dissects the person's behavior, and locks every detail into memory like a mental case file. This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition. Psychologists call it schema development, where the brain creates mental templates to spot danger faster next time. A Sigma uses this to sharpen his instincts, making it almost impossible for the same manipulation to work twice. While others might get caught in emotional whirlwinds, he steps back, observes, and asks, "What did I miss before this happened?" This reflective mindset is why Sigmas often seem like human lie detectors. They're not magically gifted, they're just relentlessly analytical. Over time, these lessons form an invisible radar, warning him of subtle shifts in tone, body language, or intentions that most people overlook. For him, every betrayal becomes a free masterclass in human behavior. The irony, those who try to exploit him end up becoming unwilling teachers, because once a Sigma learns the lesson, the door to his trust locks permanently, and he never needs to open it again. Number 8, he repositions his social circle. If she was part of a larger network, friends, colleagues, social circles, the Sigma male won't storm in making accusations or burning bridges. Instead, he'll approach the situation like a skilled chess player who sees 3 moves ahead. Social dynamics are delicate ecosystems, and research in social psychology shows that conflicts within interconnected groups often ripple outward, affecting reputations and future opportunities. The Sigma understands this well, so he quietly recalibrates his relationships. He may reduce his presence in shared events, subtly shift his alliances, or engage with mutual contacts in a more measured way, all without broadcasting his intentions. This isn't avoidance out of fear, it's strategy born from emotional intelligence. By removing himself from potential drama, he preserves his energy for pursuits that matter and keeps his image untarnished. History offers countless examples of influential figures who thrived by choosing discretion over public confrontation, knowing when silence speaks louder than words. The Sigma male embodies that same principle, moving on without leaving emotional or social wreckage behind. In doing so, he not only safeguards his peace, but also strengthens his long-term position in any network, proving that true power lies in control, not chaos. Every loss to a Sigma male is not a wound, but a workshop. He views himself as the sculptor and life as the raw marble, with every betrayal serving as the chisel that